Hi YouTube, Darth here. There has been a general feeling out there in the community that shotguns, and more specifically semi-automatic shotguns, have been overly effective since the spring patch. Today I want to talk about shotguns in Battlefield 4, specifically what people don't like about them and how DICE LA is responding to the criticism. I'm also going to outline how shotguns have changed from Battlefield 3 for the better or worse, and what more could be done to improve shotguns. Obviously this is all my own opinion, so please comment below at the end. First, a quick overview of how shotguns work. Shotguns can fire 4 types of projectiles. Buckshot, doing the most overall damage, Dart, aka Flechette, which is more accurate at range and pierces body armor, the Slug Round, which is the most accurate and delivers fatal damage under certain circumstances, and finally Frag Rounds, which do moderate amounts of splash damage. With Buckshot and Flechette rounds, the shotgun fires a certain number of pellets, which each do their own damage. The crosshair for these rounds is a sphere, which doesn't actually represent the spread of the pellets, but merely where the center of the shot is going to be. This leads to some very strange circumstances where you can be aiming directly at an enemy, but miss with every pellet. Slugs, on the other hand, are pretty much one giant bullet with a maximum of 100 damage. As long as you can deliver it on a target, you're going to get a kill under certain circumstances. That last bit I'll get back to later. Now let's look at the changes that shotguns have undergone. Let's start with the recent changes. In the spring patch, DICE LA doubled the number of pellets fired from shotguns while halving the damage per pellet. The effect was that while shotguns maintained about the same damage as before, it was far more likely to land on target because there were more pellets. Why is this? Well, each shotgun in Battlefield 4 fires a specific number of pellets. Pump-action shotguns typically fire around 50% more pellets than an automatic shotgun. This is seemingly done for balancing reasons, as the semi-automatic shotguns are supposed to be about fire rate and output, while the pump-action shotguns are supposed to be more about accuracy. The reason DICE LA increased the number of pellets is because within that circular radius, your shot can land anywhere from there and spread from that direction. The increase of pellets increases the likelihood that the pellets will land where you mean them to go. The overall effect was that all the shotguns became far more effective at delivering pellets on target. But DICE LA went a step further, adding an additional 10 meters to the shotgun pellets fall-off distance. So the current live values make the shotgun's damage not fall off completely until 50 meters. But there was one more change where all the shotgun barrel attachments became more effective. So we currently have shotguns that are exceptionally effective out to medium range and well within the combat radius of most Battlefield 4 engagements. So shotguns end up being not just a close range weapon, but they're relatively effective at the range of engagement for most encounters, especially if the otherwise random spread of pellets lands completely on target. But this is changing. Coming in the fall patch, DICE LA has tweaked the fall-off distances of the shotgun from 50 meters to just 32 meters. But in that fall patch, the buckshot and flechette damage doesn't start falling off until 24 meters, so they still have quite a bit of reach. Additionally, the semi-automatic shotguns are each losing at least a pellet, or in some cases two, from the number of pellets fired. In close quarters, this is going to mean that shotguns are still just as effective as they are in the live game, but semi-automatic weapons will be slightly less capable at every range. As to whether this is enough is probably going to depend on your perspective about whether you think shotguns should ever be a one-shot kill. But let's look even further back, to Battlefield 3. In Battlefield 3, shotguns had just as much variety as they do now, but they were not nearly as effective, especially with poor aim. Let's compare the 870 MCS in the two games. In Battlefield 3, the 870 started dropping off damage at 10 meters and it completely fell off to its minimum value at 25 meters. In the live version of Battlefield 4, the 870 MCS doesn't start dropping off until 25 meters and currently remains effective out to 50 meters. Additionally, in Battlefield 4, the player can add attachments which enhance its ability to effectively deliver pellets on target at those ranges. With more pellets fired per shot, the Battlefield 4 shotgun is also far more likely to put damage on target. There's one more change that is not easy to see from these charts. Between Battlefield 3 and 4, the damage multipliers for soldiers changed pretty drastically. In Battlefield 3, buckshot would do 2.35 times damage on a headshot. In Battlefield 4, there is no such multiplier. Across the rest of the soldier, buckshot pretty much looks the same, with one major exception. Battlefield 4 introduces the concept of the defensive field upgrade. This reduces the damage taken on a player's chest from buckshot by 7% and to the arms by 15%. If the shotgun-wielding player is firing a flechette against their target, this removes the chest bonus and reduces the arm protection to only a 7% damage reduction. But the one shotgun round that is completely annihilated by the defensive field upgrade is the slug round. Because slugs are an all-or-nothing damage model for shotguns, missing your shot generally means you die. Otherwise, you have to accomplish 2 shots in quick succession, or roughly the same performance as a Magnum sidearm. Except with a pump action, you have a lower rate of fire. The way that the defensive field upgrade changes the game for slugs is that players have to assume every player is running the field upgrade and aim for the head. Yes, it is possible to turn on a distinctive marker via options, but that is not going to be viable information in a 5-meter battle. Defensive Field Upgrade is an extreme departure from the slug model in Battlefield 3 where every shot up to 15 meters was a guaranteed kill as long as it landed in the chest or head. In Battlefield 4, landing a chest shot only works on unarmored targets at less than 12.5 meters. Defensive Field Upgrade means a follow-up shot. I should also mention that it is for this very same reason that the crossbow is great in Battlefield 3 and why the bow is terrible in Battlefield 4. This is also why the slug is a punishment on pump-action shotguns and it's not so bad on semi-automatics. The slug is punished on the guns that should be rewarded for accuracy, and thanks to the spring patch, it's completely obsolete on the semi-automatics. For the semi-automatics, buckshot and flechette are just as effective at range. So what can we do to fix shotguns? First, let's figure out what shotguns are supposed to be. In my mind, shotguns are supposed to be accurate, one shot, one kill, close-ranged weapons. Essentially, you are the range inverse of the recon bolt action. One shot, one kill at close range. You're not effective at medium or long range, and you have to take the risk of actually getting that close to your target. Everywhere else, you're not very effective at all. That's your major trade-off. You have to get where your gun is good. Or at least that's my opinion of how it should work. For buckshot and flechette rounds, I'd adopt more of a Battlefield 3 model where the shotguns are the most effective at up to 15 meters and quickly sputter out past that point. Hitting chest shots and headshots should be a bonus afforded to trained players. The choice between semi-automatic and pump-action shotguns should be high accuracy and little deviation with the pumps, and spray and pray damage with the semi-automatics. For pump-action shotguns specifically, I'd either fix the multiplier on slugs to ignore the defensive field upgrade, or I would give them a multiplier to chest shots. It currently makes no sense to run slugs on pump actions, whereas in Battlefield 3 it was a seriously rewarding challenge to hit players in the chest or the head, even at longer ranges, for a rewarding kill. If you missed, you paid for it pretty quick. In Battlefield 4, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense that the Magnum pistols are functionally better than the pump-action slugs, specifically so on armored targets. Finally, I would completely remove the defensive field upgrade from the game. This is a perk that makes players take nearly 10% less damage across the board and grossly perverts all kinds of game damage models. For an example of how badly it can mess with core mechanics, Hardline's 50% damage reduction armored insert was a prime example. Now, I suspect the developers originally added the defensive field upgrade to specifically stop one-shot kills. However, the net effect is that an entire class of weapons and ammo becomes pointless. Was this the intended effect? It all comes down to your opinion of if there should be one-shot weapons in the game. I think if we're talking about close quarters battles where the risk and skill required is high, there definitely should be. But it shouldn't extend beyond there, which it does currently. But what can we do for Battlefield 4 or any upcoming Battlefield title? Well, at the very least with the fall patch, shotguns will be less effective at long range. That patch is done testing and should be in our hands in short order. Ideally, I'd like to see the developers dial the range back further but increase the efficacy of aimed shots against players, particularly for slug rounds. And for the future, let's never again put defensive style perks in the game. That's it for this video about fixing shotguns. What do you think of the current and planned shotgun balance for the game? Is there something else that you would do? Did you play Battlefield 3 and did you prefer shotguns in that game? Let me know all the ways you're feeling in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time, YouTube.